Oh, hello there, Outliers. Niiamah Shang here, and thank you so much for letting me be a part of your journey. I say me, but I really mean us because we're here on the Outliers Edge Roundtable, where we've brought together amazing outliers to share their stories, their expertise, their experiences, and their insights so that we can all just continue to expand the way that we think. One of the things that's really lovely about our space is that we're not here to teach you anything. We know that like you got that. What we're trying to do here is help you remember and help you like step into what you already know is possible and do it with abandon. And I'm here today with four incredible outliers who are doing just that, who are finding the things that work for them and then leaning into it hard and bringing that out into more and more. I want you to get to know them, and you'll get to find out more about them throughout the conversation. But why don't we start over here and introduce our esteemed, I like that word today, our esteemed outliers guests here today. Why don't we start off with Megan? Megan, would you mind letting us know about more about you and the game that you play?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everybody. So happy to be here and hopefully feel enlightened by the end of this conversation. But I am Megan Howie. I am a branding photographer, confidence coach, and speaker. And my biggest thing is just helping people find their impact in life through owning who they are in whatever that means for them. So for me, it's through color and just making your life and business feel really beautifully you. And for others, it may be different. But whatever it is, I love helping people kind of tap into that.
Yeah, beautifully you. I like not just you, but like with that like beautiful context to it. Really, really lights things up. Thanks for being here, Megan. Andy, let's come to you next.
Oh, hi, my name is Andy Charles, and I'm a life certified life and development coach, also a three-time podcast host. And in my business, what I do is I create opportunity for people to find a way to get intentionality, clarity, and purpose about their lives, especially if it's about their career, their relationships, their businesses, the things that they need to do better in life more than anything else. And I love doing that because I feel that I love to create that impact and build that kind of symmetry with people so that they can have a clearer vision about their lives. My podcasts are one, The Breakout Room, two, Let's Just Read, and three, Breaking Out of Depression. And I'm really glad to be here. Thank you, Niiamah, and the rest of the outliners. Appreciate it.
We appreciate you, Andy. And I like that like when you have something to say and you know that one podcast just isn't enough, you just keep going. And I like we'll talk more about that. We'll talk more about like the behind that element, right? Because some a lot of times we'll artificially narrow what we can do or who we can be. And I like that you're just like, no, let's just keep going. Audrey, help us get to know you. What game are you playing?
Hi, I feel so aligned with this podcast and happy to be here. I'm a farm to table chef, and I really like to be in the kitchen and just create magic. I like to make something from nothing and connect everybody that I feed with the environment, with farm to table food.
Nice. It is wonderful to have you here. I love that element of creating something from nothing. I'm excited to see how we choose to play with that here in today's conversation. Thanks for being here, Audrey. And Marina.
Thanks for having us, Niiamah. My name is Marina. I am a somatic coach, life and business coach, and somatic means connected to the body. And I support people to connect with their bodies and see how that impacts how their childhood particularly impacts their life and their business, their relationships, their career. And I also work with other somatic practitioners in supporting their businesses.
So you can see outliers. We have a great group of people here to help us play and expand our own thinking. Hey, outliers here. Just know that, like in this conversation, if there's anything that comes on that you want to challenge in our thinking, challenge it, see it from a different perspective, feel free to bring it. We can create a very. I feel we're connected. So now that we have the connection, let's use that to build and take it to leverage the connection to challenge and help each other grow in this space, right? The first question I have here literally just came to me right now, but I'm going to call it the boomerang question. All right. And I think about a boomerang is my understanding. I've never gotten it to happen successfully. Is that you throw something out in the world, and it comes back, right? And the what I'm curious about is for any of you who essentially tried other things before coming back to like what you're doing right now? Just really curious about any projects that you've taken on, any programs that you've done, any parts of like your marketing or messaging that like you're like maybe you walked away with because conventional wisdom or other people said you should go do something, and you eventually came back to just being you. Would you mind sharing a bit about like how you boomeranged your way back to where you are? And in this one here, because it's an open-ended question like this, I'm going to leave it open to anyone who wants to start talking first, and then maybe I'll call.
I feel like this question speaks very truly to a lot of things that I've been through. I just feel very differently about things when they feel aligned with me. And that rings true when I began college and I started with a different major. I started as a civil engineer, and it was a whole lot of cement and concrete, and I was rushing sororities and I was getting denied, and I had C's and D's, and things just weren't going right for me. And then I kind of took a step back and I saw that things just weren't landing, and I tried to change the direction of where I was going. And I talked to people, I talked around until I found the right advisors and the right connections. And then I switched my major, and I went from concrete to soil and water, which I loved because I was a biological engineering major next. And the building was so beautiful and green. It was right across the street from the Arboretum. And then I stopped rushing the sororities that I wasn't getting into because I didn't fit in with that population of people. And instead, I joined the farm club, which was really fun because they had potlucks and we were out in the garden, being outside in the sun. And I thrived really well in that group environment, and I became the vice president pretty easily. So I can just kind of see how when I follow what makes me feel lighter, things are a lot easier. Whereas if I listen to what other people tell me, then I feel a lot of pushback and I see a lot of pushback, and it manifests within my body as like anxiety and acne. And then it manifests in my life as just things aren't landing. And I'm lucky to have learned that, and I see that play out in my life on a daily basis, with my job today versus my job when I first graduated. Like I mentioned before, I was an engineer for a few months, and I did not like the job, and my commute was an hour in traffic where I would design sewers, and I hated it, but my family said to stick with it because I have student loans to pay for, and my therapist told me to stick with it because I have student loans to pay for and just push it out. But when I found out that there's a farm to table restaurant just a 10-minute walk from my house, and I applied just saying, hey, I don't have that much cooking experience, but I was in farm club and I love to be outside and I like to cook. And then with that, they were like, oh, we're hiring a sustainable chef, come by. And the kitchen is beautiful, it has windows, and it's a 10-minute walk, and I get to walk under trees. And it was just such a flawless transition. And I still get that science education from my boss who studied biology. So we're seeing how things play out. I'm still working through things on a day-to-day basis. But
I love this element. Like it's like you had like the harder science, and you're like, I'm thinking soils, and then you got into the farm club, and then you went back in the sewers, which I think about as like in a different way. And you're like, all right, now we're going back to the farm table. Like, so I like this element here. We're playing with the boomerang. We're seeing how things keep evolving. Thank you for that, Audrey. Megan, how about you?
Oh, this is my whole entire existence. Honestly, I've boomeranged a million times in my life, in my career, going all the way back to college almost 20 years ago. It was similar to where I was in creative spaces, and then got worried about, my, hireability, and kind of started changing majors and freaking out, but then ended up paving my way after college, regardless of what's on paper with my degrees, to creative spaces and places. And my whole entire career has then been that. So it's like, when you start to like kind of what Audrey said. When you start listening to everybody else or all the other things, you find that you are so disconnected. I even find that in business when I take on clients that in the beginning just didn't quite feel right, or they're asking you to bend and break in the ways that you don't typically bend and break, or don't feel the way that you typically articulate your life, right? You always kind of feel that kind of burn from those. And I think everything is a lesson, right? You know, you could take something from those maybe ill-fitted clients or ill-fitted classes or parts of your life or career. So I always think there's always still a lesson in all of it, but it is very important to kind of find your, you know, your way back in those boomerang moments when you're not feeling so great in them.
You're muted.
Every once in a while, I'll just mute myself here. So when that happens, Outliers, just know that that is just like deep, deep thought, right? That's like something that really landed. Marina, I saw some like deep nods from you as Megan was talking. So I'm curious what if you can share with us about either what resonated with you or like how you've had boomerang moments in your world.
Yeah, I really like the theme that is happening around when things are aligned, it just flows. It's much easier. So before I did somatic coaching, I was doing plant-based coaching, and I actually really liked it for a time. But then I started to feel really blocked. Like everything, there was no flow. Everything felt really, really hard and just wasn't going. Like I set goals and I felt stuck and stuck and stuck. And at that time, I was really trying to use my head to figure it out. I was trying to analyze and find my way through like learning more and doing more marketing and these kinds of things. And then I actually had a coach tell me that my business is a trauma response. And I had no clue what that meant, but it just felt very true. And that's how my whole career that I have now happened, because of that sentence. Because I went with that and I said, oh, what if I looked into the body? Like, what if I didn't try to figure this out through my head, but I actually connected with my body, which was very, very disconnected because of trauma. And that's how I found a therapist that worked with the body and started applying those techniques with my coaching clients and realized that's really what I want to do. So it's really cool to look back. I mean, I think all of us struggle in the moment to say, oh yes, this is just leading me to the next thing. And it's great when we're stuck. It's really, really tough. But when you look back, you realize that was really good, because that's how I got to where I am now. So that helps me to look at things that way today too.
Thanks for that, Mandy. I'll be curious for you, like any boomerangness take place for you?
Yeah, I was just listening to everybody and thinking about my personal life. When I reminisce on the past and I think about growing up in high school and even going to the higher level of school, I enjoyed immensely things that came natural to me, like public speaking. I was actually coaching people and didn't realize it was coaching that I was doing until that knowledge became a reality to me. I would stand up in front of classes and people and I would just simply recite a poem, remember quotes from famous persons. Spontaneously, I would do a skit just on the spot. And I did that for several years because it was the one thing that I truly found me being able to define myself through. It was just so natural. You bring a song before me, I would sing that too. And then life happened and I got married. I had to prepare for my family, think about the future. And there was indeed a big paradigm shift. I started my own business. I never really desired working for anybody. And I have been working for me for the past 30 years. And that indeed is a blessing by itself. But what that did was it pulled me away from my natural abilities and talents. And then COVID-19 happened. And there was a total reconditioning of the way that I looked at life. And I found myself naturally going back to the things that I could do in my sleep. I started reinventing myself or reconditioning myself all over again. So I started studying to become a professional life and development coach, got certified, got accredited, And then I started working with Lions Clubs International. And the international president awarded me with a certificate for assisting their growth and development with membership, because I started group coaching then, and appearing at their seminars and giving speeches and stuff. And then I realized that I could do a little bit more. So the podcast idea came into being, and after 4 years, it sort of hibernated for a while, and then bam, back on track with 3 podcasts: The Breakout Room, Let's Just Read, and Breaking Out of Depression. I'm glad because I have the opportunity to be involved in so many communities and make an impact and really share my talents and my gifts. So it's like full circle coming back all over again for me. And I'm happy to share it with you guys here today.
I'm happy to be that we get to be a witness of this here. Thank you for stepping into that. And you said something that really like had me like just take a step, took my breath away. You said things I can do in my sleep. And I really love that there. As I'm listening to each of you, I don't know why the boomerang question came to mind. I've never asked it before, at least on this thing. I even gave it a name. I'm like the boomerang question. But the like as I'm listening to you all, that component of like the ease of just going to what actually aligns, as opposed to the fight of trying to make something else that doesn't work. One of the things I'm playing with nowadays is like, what if I just made the thing I want work? Even if I have to work harder at it, like I would much rather put in that work, because no matter what, like the work needs to get done, and I'm actually doing the harder work with the things I like and the things that come easily to me, as opposed to the things I don't like. And I'm just trying to see how little I can get done. and I'm like, why am I not getting the results? Like, because you don't want to do all the other stuff that's also involved. I'm going to bring in another question in a bit, but I'm curious if anything pops off for any of you as I say that right here. You can just unmute yourself and bring it into the conversation. If so, yeah,
Well,
Megan. Let's go with Megan first, and we'll go to
Go-
Andy.
Definitely.
So one thing that just came to mind for anybody who maybe is feeling a little stuck and like they are in this weird space of not feeling aligned, or they don't even realize they don't feel aligned. They just feel like, I don't want to do this, or this isn't working, or this isn't growing the way I want. I tend to find, I take a look at what I'm resisting. What you said made me think about that. Like, just what are you resisting? What do you keep pushing off onto the next to-do list, the next this, that, and the other? Maybe it's just not in alignment with you anymore. It may have been before. I'm not saying it never was, so just being really kind to yourself and just being really honest and real with the things that you are, finding resistance against, because you might just see that, hey, that doesn't serve me anymore. And I'm not serving my population or my community or whoever it is really wonderfully either if I'm not in alignment. So just thought I'd throw that out there because it's what I personally do a lot of times.
Thanks for that, Megan. Like that's awesome there. Well, you resistant outliers, pay attention to that. Andy, you had something you wanted to contribute?
Yeah, it's going to be brief. When I listen to, wow, and I'm glad I'm the only well, we have 2 gentlemen, and the gentleman as the host, and the ladies, I listen. I realize that many people sometimes think that a hard part of their life that they can't come to terms with is a part that should never happen. But I remember when I used to think that FAIL meant that I wasn't good enough, that I couldn't make it, that I couldn't do what was right. I didn't come up to people's expectations because I felt like I was always failing, FAIL. And then I met someone and they said to me, how about you looking at it from this perspective? First attempt in learning. And that changed my entire perspective. And I recognized that, just like Thomas Edison said, 1,000 times trying to invent the incandescent light bulb, it was not failures, it was steps to success. And so every aspect of our lives, I think, when we reflect and we think, why did I have to go through that? Think about wanting, just wanting, no matter how simple or insignificant it might seem, that you would have gotten out of that, that was good enough to stretch either your physical, emotional, or even your mental muscles. And there's always something to gain out of it. No part of our lives is an accident. It's just an opportunity for us to get better at defining our true self. I firmly believe that, even from my personal experience.
Well, now you brought in first attempt in learning, and I would like to go and play a little bit with some of the fails that we've had along the way, all right? And actually, not even along the way, like not like the very far past, but let's go into something that's more recent, all right? Like, there's because there's something about like the stuck. When I heard you say stuck, Marina, I was thinking my mind goes to the outliers who are currently in the struggle or in the suck of it. That was what was going on. The people who are currently in the suck of it. Because like for a very long time, I was just like floating up here. I was like, this is great, business is great, so on and so forth. And then one day I woke up and I realized I'm like, oh, this is not actually working out anywhere near as well as I thought. And then once I try to get in there, I was like, this actually kind of sucks. And it took a while to like actually overcome that or just to start walking back in there. So I'm curious from you all and I ask you if you're willing to like to go to something recent in your life and your work here and tell us about a time where it sucked and like how you navigated your way through that because what I'm starting to understand is that it's the perseverance makes a difference. And so for anyone that is in that suck right now, or in the first attempt in learning, or that spot where they're feeling stuck, walk us through an experience that you recently had and how you navigate that. Is anyone? Yeah, Marina,
Sure.
please.
Yes. Yeah, when I made that switch, when I was trying to do coaching and nutrition, and I had a year when I had like 40 calls with potential clients and one person said yes. It wasn't even a year. It was a period of like just a few months. And every one of those rejections, I took it so hard. Literally, I would lay in bed for days after every no at that time. And I didn't realize it was playing on my own trauma around rejection. And I was really trying to be like, keep going, push through, like change your mindset. But that's really not what I needed. Like that really didn't work for me. It actually put me more into a state of freeze. If you guys know fight, flight, freeze, fawn, the freeze one, and just stop taking action and stop continuing. And what's so interesting, I think when you have a lot of those experiences, your body kind of learns. Andy, what you mentioned is like, now whenever I start a new project, I just know, first of all, my expectations are lower. Like I'm starting a new project, so it's not going to be like an immediate success. It's going to be step by step. We're going to build it up, and that's okay, and that's normal. So I don't put that much pressure on myself. That's one thing. And then when there is that thing that happens where everyone says no, I look at it as, okay, what do I need to change here or redirect? And am I really in alignment with what I'm doing? Like, does it feel good? Does it feel fun? Does it feel easy? Or does it feel like I'm forcing it and pushing through it and it's like a nightmare? So I think there's the external piece of like, am I in alignment with this? Do I need to change actually the whole thing that I'm doing? And the internal piece of why am I being so triggered by this situation?
Thank you for that, Marina. Thank you for getting us started on that. Audrey, Megan, Andy, anything else come to you all around this? Yeah, Audrey, I see you.
I would first just like to say, Marina, I really feel like you're speaking my language and I hear you and I get you. But I feel stuck right now. I love to cook. I feel like I've made the right decision in this path, and where I am is definitely where I'm supposed to be. But I mean, where I'm at the same time, I'm in a whole lot of debt. I'm living at my parents' house. I don't have a car. I'm figuring it all out. Like, I feel like my whole life is a blank canvas. And I don't know if anybody here has ever read The Bell Jar, but she basically talks about how her life is like a fig tree and she sees how there's so many different figs of opportunity. Like she could do one thing. In my case, like I can just become TikTok famous because that's a new thing. I can become a personal chef. I can do like there's just so many. I can go back to school or I can get an engineering job. There's just so many different avenues that I could take, and trying to pick out which fig I want to choose is really hard because I have to think about my finances. I have to think about, where do I want to live? Am I going to be able to afford living there? There's just so many different avenues to take, and I don't want to pick the wrong one. I just don't, like, I don't know what to do. And like, I know that there's options, and it gets me so excited to think about. But at the same time, I just want something to land so that I can feel financially free, that I can get a car, that I can move out. Um, yeah, I'm playing with life right now.
Audrey, I'm so grateful for you and just like in your openness and sharing like and I can feel the play that you have in it, right? Both there's the components of like myrrh, and at the same time you're like, there's so many figs. Um what I like to do in this space here, because you're in a space with a lot of coaches, so I don't want to like just jump into like going on that. But like let's continue the conversation, and then uh, we'll stay with this element of the failing and things. If any of y'all, what comes to mind is I'm curious about the figs, like getting to the place of the figs. Actually, I'll make that a separate question. So let's start with the fail. Let's continue with the fail in part, right? And then I'm going to be curious about the figs because I think that as outliers, a bunch of us are multi-talented, multi-passionate. How do we choose which one is the right one? You know. So let's continue on with anything else that you have when it comes to a failure you had or something that didn't work or like feeling stuck here.
I can jump in here. And Audrey, I love how you said like you're playing with life. Because I think so many times in our personal lives, in our business lives, we take things a little too seriously in certain aspects, where sometimes the ease comes in when you let go a little bit, right? And that's way easier coming out of my mouth said than done, of course. But we also live in a world, talking about social media, that we see all these people like, I make six figures, I do this, I do that, I do this. And you don't always see all the sides or all their failures because they're not open and coming onto a microphone and saying, I'm struggling and I'm feeling there's like so many places and spaces to go. I don't know what to do next. We all feel like that in some way, shape, or form, whether it's, a little more of a blip in our map or a larger kind of just like season of our map. And so like for me, when I think of some of my failures, my most recent one was missing a client appointment. And I have never not shown up for an appointment in all the years of my business. And they were calling me and I wasn't available because I was at my other appointment that I thought was on that day. And I was embarrassed, humiliated, all the things. And so for me to say that as a pretty seasoned entrepreneur and business owner feels uncomfortable, but we need to all know that like, we're not perfect. We're all human, right? At the end of the day. And so I think for outliers that are out there that are feeling, just raw in whatever way, to know that, dig a little deeper with people who you trust and are around, whether it's a coach, a mentor, a friend, or whoever, like ask questions that make you go past like that surface level especially when it comes to business, because when I was talking about this fail to some different groups of people that I'm in and network with and things like that, they're like, oh yeah, I totally get it. Like this happened to me once. And you start to realize I'm not an epic failure because I missed an appointment, I didn't show up and there were people there waiting for me and counting on me and their schedule is now messed up, So it's like people start, kind of unraveling this kind of facade that we see so often. So be more mindful about asking questions and putting yourself in places and spaces, whether it's in real life, on social media, all the things, of people who show all sides of it so that you don't feel alone. We don't feel alone at all.
I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all a lot. If I would have time for like one more big question, and I want to make sure everyone here gets a chance to let outliers know how they can continue down the journey with them. Audrey, we'll go in this case here. We'll talk about the figs. I haven't read the book, but something that comes up a lot is like outliers are multi-talented, multi-passionate. They'll have a whole career behind them, maybe multiple careers. They've lived in different countries. They've done there's just so many things that they can do or so many things that they have tried. And I'm really curious about how you all have chosen the fig in this case. And I'm going to appropriate this for the purpose of this thing here. A lot of times this ends up being like how you chose your niche, how you end up being like who your avatar was, so on and so forth. And I'm curious about like either the conventional or unconventional way you all kind of found peace with the work that you do. Andy, I'm feeling drawn to start with you on this one, and then we'll continue on here. We'll take probably one more response after Andy, and then we'll wrap up for today.
Thank you, Niiamah, and the ladies. When I started my own business about 30 years ago, I was broke. The person that I worked with before left me with a company that was under foreclosure. I had a $3,000 check in my hand, and the rest of it, well, he still owes me up to today. But that's water under the bridge. What happened was that I tried to bounce back. I tried to be resilient. And I would walk with one pair of shoes that I had that had soles that had holes in the soles. I had to put cardboard underneath and pray that rain wouldn't fall when I'd go out there. I had a prepaid phone and I couldn't top it up, and would pray that people would call me because I couldn't call anybody. And one day I sat down and I said to God, I said, listen, you have me going through this stuff, or maybe it's my choice. I don't know what it is, but I need a revelation. I need an answer. I need a response. And what happened is that when this guy left, I went to the clients that we had got together, and I spoke to them and I told them what my condition, my position was. And somehow, Niiamah, they took a chance on me and give me the opportunity to start my own business. And to make a long story short, the stuff that I went through taught me how to be, one, resilient, two, grateful, and three, to understand that even at the very end of my rope, if I still believe, if I still really wanted to be successful bad enough, there's a way and I could find it. And so 6 years later on, we were signing checks for over $10,000. We were bringing in over 6 million plus per year as profit annually. And that experience helped me to realize that what I'm doing now is important, because that was the foundation upon which I decided when I meet people and they're struggling, they can't decide what direction they need to go in life. I have a story that I can use to help them. I have the experience. I have had the understanding of what FAIL means in two different sides of the coin. And so for me, it helps me to make a greater impact, because I'm coming from a place of truth, a place of empathy, but also a place of understanding. And that makes the difference in the way I come to people and make an impact in their lives with regards to clarity, intentionality, and purpose. And I'm really grateful for that opportunity.
Thank you, Andy. Like, thanks for taking us there. You know, it's one thing, like we see people later and we have no clue where they came from, no idea what it took for them to be there. And it's like I just didn't realize before how impactful it was to hear. So thank you so much for sharing it. We have room for one more here. With anyone else want to share on related to the figs, and then we're gonna make sure everyone knows how to stay in touch with you. Hey, Marina.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I feel strongly that our personal story kind of contributes to what we teach others. There's a quote one of my best friends always says, we teach best what we most need to learn. And I think that's really, really true. And so, yeah, whenever I feel like uninspired or stuck in any way, I just always think about what's happening for me. Like, what am I learning right now? Whether it's in a specific project that I want to share or a whole business, what is it? What is my life purpose that I'm learning that I can share forward? Because that is what we embody, our own lessons and how we can teach the best, because it's not just coming from our heads or what we think is right. We really feel it. Like, this is my story. And when I found somatics, when I found somatic therapy, it literally like saved my life, because I was so dissociated. I was living totally disconnected from my body 90% of the time, my whole life, until I found that. And I actually was like, oh my God, I feel alive. Like, I get excited about the trees and I can actually feel things in my body, and I have to help other people experience this too. And I think it was so easy because people felt that from me. It was just so obvious, the excitement. So that's what I would say to that.
I love it. I love it. Well, I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for sharing your experience here. Outliers, if there's even one thing in this conversation that touched your soul, that touched your heart, that made you like want to get more in touch with your body or your creativity or your like everything about you, go ahead and share this with one person who needs to hear this message or who would benefit from the conversation that we've had today. Right. We're coming up on our time here, and I want to make sure the outliers have a way to continue down with each of you. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to share pretty quickly here an insight or a takeaway that you're taking from this conversation. And it could be I'm not taking anything away. That's all good too. And as well as a way that people can continue down with you, right? So they want to how they can continue down. We'll go with Megan. We'll go then go to Andy.
All right. Well, thank you again for having us all here. This is such a beautiful collection of humans. Again, I am Megan Holly. The takeaway that I am taking is that we are all so much more alike than we are different in so many ways when it comes to just moving through life and business and all the things that comes with that. So thank you for that reminder, everybody. And I appreciate that. Where people can find me, I hang out on Instagram and Facebook. I am in my stories all the time, connecting. So if you love just feeling confident, uplifted, and being a part of a community, come hang out with me there. My handle is Megan Holly Creates on all of the platforms.
Awesome. Well, glad to have you, Megan. Thank you so much for being here. Andy.
Thank you, Niiamah. The takeaway for me that I really feel impressed and moved is the fact that we can all come on this space and have one thing in common, that is being vulnerable and being human, and just being grateful for the opportunity to share something that is so personal and deep to us, but at the same time, we have no problem letting other people know. And to me, that's really important. I think we need much more of that in the world today. I'm easy to find on the social media platforms. You look for Andy A. Charles on LinkedIn as well as Facebook, and Instagram, it's Andy Charles 8417. YouTube, it's at Andy Charles Dreamer. And you'll find me there. Let's connect and let's see how we can make each other's lives so much better to live. And as outliers, we continue to have success supporting each other. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andy. Why don't we go to Audrey and then we'll go to Marina?
I guess my takeaway is just like whatever I'm doing, keep following that same idea just because I'm here and I'm with you guys. And it seems like you guys followed your hearts to get where you are. And I feel proud to be in a collection of people that was invited to be here. So on Instagram, it's just Audrey Subers, but you can follow me. Yeah, I'd love to connect with anyone.
Thank you, Audrey. And Marina.
I would say my takeaway also has to do with the heart. It's so nice when people speak from the heart and you can really feel it, and it's just wonderful. So I'm very grateful for that. Thank you, everybody. And you can find me on Instagram at marina.y.t, and also my podcast on Deep Within. And I would love to hear from you. If you have any questions or anything you want to share, feel free to message me. I am available. Would love to connect with you.
And there we have it. Outliers. I just wanted to say on behalf of all outliers out there, thank you all for taking the time to be here. Thank you for sharing your experiences. Thank you for bringing your vulnerability and just being real here. That's all I can ask. And thank you for living your life as an outlier outside of here. It's just great to be able to capture it and share it with others today. I appreciate you.